Playing with fire, though, has to be careful. He farms a little bit of the builds there to try and get himself something to work with. And now down he comes to the low ground. 2 builds. More buildings to work with here. He pulls this rotate off and can get inside of a cone. Maybe he can buy himself a cheeky positioning to get an Elam. Who knows?
And you can see here he's prioritizing trying to get some hard mats too. He has enough to build 1 hard mat structure. When we talk about hard mats, we mean brick and metal. The reason why they're called that is because not only do they have more health when they get fully durable, but they aren't see-through at all. There's no transparency to them. You can see inside a wood cone if you look closely enough. Full built metal and full built brick, you cannot. So I think he's trying to get enough builds like Monster touched on there to try to get in and maybe put down one of those fully built brick cones to sit inside, because that's the only thing that's going to hide him right now. But I can tell you from personal experience, that few seconds it takes for the builds to go full, it feels like an eternity. You just think anyone's going to unload fire on you. As Chimp has a team, it is Stretch, Saf and Zayt, and Jack, Acorn, and Slacks. That is just not 6 people you want to be around near in Chimp's position. And is he is just on the very corner. I have to applaud Chimp's effort right now. He really is doing everything he can to survive here.
You know what? Honestly, he's close to placement as well. Anything can happen. Yeah. You never really know. He's at 17th right now. Fighting tooth and nail to the final moments. It's gonna be a match.
Oh,
no. A 3-man open up the harpoon, and he was caught out. Hey, claps in the chat if you can. There you have it. He does make it very far, but still will fall.
We got the big teams in here right now. I saw Avery, Creo, and Illis on the high ground. I saw Centered, Edgy, Commandment inching their way up further. I saw Zayt, Saf, and Stretch. So this is honestly, I think, the game almost all where we've seen all the big names here. Our first place team has gone out. That's unfortunate. The underrated guys making their way up. But we have our big dogs on the block. Okus in the feed. Avery's up here. This really is the best of the best of NA East right now. Trying to fight out to take this win here in game number 4. As Stretch takes down a Minish, and someone is fighting for the high ground. It's our high ground king himself.
Oh, no.
Saf has fallen, though. The high ground king has fallen all the way down to the depths with the plebs. He is on the low ground. He is going to go down, and Stretch and Zayt have to do something here. And yeah, a bit of a misplay from Saf there.
And not only that, he was going toe-to-toe against Illis, and Illis saw him fall. He jumps down for the full thirst and replenish. So he's happy. He's okay with that. Here's Illis' perspective as a solo takes on the trios up above and maintains or manages to pick off one of the biggest names right there in the business. That was crazy. 3 Elams for Illis. This is what we're hoping for. This is the kind of, even though you're a solo, you fight for situations. Anything can happen. Every team that falls now is placement as well. You never know what you can do, and this is why you fight to the very, very end.
Yeah, and Zayt, Saf, and Stretch, well, I should say Zayt and Stretch have that high ground. I'm just so used to saying Zayt and Saf every time. They're going to have to do it without them. The duo has been taken down as Low Crown King is in the box with someone else.
Oh, no.
And unfortunately, their crown has just been stolen. Low Ground King 7, which is obviously Centered, makes it out of there alive, but Edgy and Commandment have fallen. My pick is not looking great here. That means first place team is down. Second place is down to a solo. Third place is also down. So this is really anyone's chance to jump up. Creo, Avery, Illist in 5th. Niddle, Mikey, Clarity in 4th right now. Need to have their big games as Centered is not getting out of this one easy.
Yeah, no, he's getting pressure from every which angle, and there it is. Finally, someone hops on in. It's COD Genesis. We needed them in the end game with Pandusha. They are here.
They're there.
They're inside the top 10. And again, what's on the line for them is that they need to have a top 10. There's no series points waiting for them. There's no free pass to the Heats, and they're going to find another one as well there. They're lighting things up. All of a sudden, Aussie, we were asking, where were they? They were in top 20. They're fighting their way up.
Yeah, Code Genesis also capitalizing onto a Kote. I noticed there as well was very painful. Voyle was getting held down by Illist, who was still going as a solo. As I say that, not Panda, not to be confused with Pandush, is still going here as well, as Code Genesis takes down our 4th place player, Mikey. So they are doing big things to jump up the leaderboard. They are on that ultimate low, though, Monster. They are pinned down there. They get another elimination, but they have to come up this mountain. They have to come up into the groups of Zayt and Stretch with the rest of the lobby as Illist takes down Voyle. And right now, I don't know if they're going to get more points out of this, but can they get top 3? Top 3 is where all the placement is. Not Panda takes down Pandush. They need these points so badly. They have to hold on, and it's looking like they are in the feed. They've made top 3. That is huge for our team here.
They might have just made it to actually top 4s. I'm seeing Spook, Spark, Alive, Smuggy, and Zay. So they just missed it. And top 3 is the big placement. Like, things really start to hop up here. Those points go such a long way. On the low ground out, a full trio, the only full trio remaining right now, is still up, and they're going to get an exchange here. Spark goes down, and no, the Siphon's going to get traded out, but Rift is still up. It is still a possible winning situation for them.
This is a 3v2 right now, but Sparks now it's going to be converting to a 2v2. Stretch and Zayt on the high ground. Two of the casters picks. Your pick, Monster. The high ground kings. What can they do from the high ground? 2 rockets in the inventory of Zayt. He's going to try and break apart the builds, and they do. I think that was a perfect... I don't think that was a harpoon. The analyst can break it down later. I think that was a snipe onto the wall of the wood builds that broke it open. Zayt and Stretch having just insane chemistry here, playing so well as a team. Usually it's Zayt and Saf, but Stretch filling this one out well. As Zayt goes down, he's on 21 health. He fires and he loses.
Wow.
The high ground kings have been dethroned. They lose to Spook on the low ground. Yeah, 4 good games. 1 great game could do it here as they've only got 2 left. The victory hour is worth the 30 points. They've just broken into placement now, so any team that goes down, as we're in 17th on the team plates, we have 48 players alive, is going to be their chance to jump up and get those big placements. But yeah, top 3 is where it's really at. If they can get a top 3 finish this game, a win would be ecstatic. A win could actually get them close enough to qualifying alone, but this team is safe by no means. We're not just saying this. We're not just building up a storyline that isn't there. This is a top tier team that formed last minute that needs to gain about 30 to 40 points in their next 2 games when they've only gained 50 in the 4 prior. So this is very scary for this team, and it is now or never. Literally, if they go down here and they don't get at least a top 3 or top 5 finish, it's coming down to needing a win in their last game. So pressure is really on for this newly formed team.
Not only that, they just don't have the elims right now in a heavy early elim styled format, right? If you pick those up, those 2 points mean the world. You got to be able to pick away those points consistently. Here's Clarity, Niddle, Mikey. They're going to find something, a little bit of a loot pickup below the surge threshold. No elims for them either. They have to continue to fight here now, Aussie, and they're looking to do just that. They're going to rotate, of course, with the priority first to get in front, and then turn back to see if they can catch some of the picks here. Any shots down now will definitely set them up for success as we pan our way on up to the team that's on the bubble. Voyo, COD Genesis, Pandouche still on the move here, also below the surge. No. This is a big problem, and they lose COD Genesis behind.
Oh, they get maybe the elimination though, but that is a huge one. Even if they got that elimination, that would not be worth it at all. COD Genesis is going down. Voil and Pandush need to do something big now. 17 builds in the inventory for Voil. I don't know what Pandush has. He's dropping a few, so we've got a little bit, but that is not looking good. I have to imagine between these 2 players, they have less than 500 mass total. They need to find something on the backside. As Scented managed to take down Jamper in the feed as well, but all eyes are on this team. Everything matters for them. They get the bounces. Can they use one on this edge, or they're going to keep tarping as they're only 46 above. Now they're below. 5 teams have to go down. They're getting ticked with Storm Surge. This is completely the worst position you could ever be in a team. They're trying to heal. They can't out-heal it, and someone's on the wall. So luckily for this team, someone is there, and they get a refresh as well. They needed that, but Goku is next to them. They're hitting the bounce pad. They're pushing forward. They don't have what they need to go high ground, but this team is clawing tooth and nail to make it not just through this game, but make it top 10 for semifinals, because they need something massive now.
Yeah, and they barely have anything to work with here. 56 points. They've only gotten a single elimination. Pandouche is off by himself. Voyo, was the big pot worth it here? 30 for 50. Walks into the storm. Another 10 tick there, and now he's late. Split from his teammate. He is now down. All pressure is up onto Pandouche here to step up to the plate and hit a home run. He needs to do this here now. Otherwise, it's all up to the final game. This newly formed team has got more pressure than ever before now to perform.
21 builds right now, 1 elimination, just kind of finding his way through. Every team that goes down as a placement point, if he can stay safe, he's dropped down onto low ground. We know how scary it can be down here. It saves the mats. You can find these tasks to go through, but if he takes 1 wrong move, 1 wrong step, if he steps around a corner that he hasn't checked, he will go down. He's in top 10 with 1 elimination and 0 builds. Team coming through, and this is what's scary. He's rocket riding to the front side. He steps on the rocket. If he didn't, it would have connected regardless. They go down. That will not see them inside top 10 guaranteed by any means. Game 6 is where it's going to be to come down, and man, I gotta say, Monster, I love this game so much. What did we just watch?
That's Fortnite for you right there. Anything can happen on the biggest stages in the world. Here now, though, Clamps going toe-to-toe here. It's Adrian Archive. This is your weather station squad. Popping off here. Clamps in a box, and he's going to go down. Top 5 situation. The next squad that survives this one is going to be gifted the biggest amount of points. Names that we've seen all day today now. First place, Tabney, Chimp, and Teo playing out of their mind, in form, in shape here on the low ground, of course. It's Commandment and company, and they're here to make a statement still.
This is a full trio, and I talked about making statements. This is the statement now. You are a 3v3v3 against two of the best teams, not just in NA East, but in the world. You have Centered Edgy Command below you. They're trying to fight their way up. You have a new team on the high ground. Dom is trying to do something to fight their way into this one. Tabney being pinched between the two. Dusky's going to make their way down. I don't think they have the heal-off potential, and we have another massive game from a new face. They're on only 63 points total with 10 eliminations this game. That is a massive jump up for this team, but can they overcome the low ground kings? Edgy comes through, finds the angle onto Teo. That is first place going down. Edgy can't even see where all the opponents are. They work their way in, and we have another team coming out on top when it mattered most. They just picked up, what is that?
Yep, stretches down. This is the star duo. Have to work one another. 27 damage below the Surge right now. They're the only team below. They're the only team now getting focused as well. Remember, that's a distinctive sound being triggered out to the rest of the lobby here. It's funny, Zate's always the one parading about, hey, if you're losing a Surge, then you don't know what you're doing in the game. And he's the one guy, the one team that's below the Surge in the last game of all games. The final games are more often than not people getting very active, and you know, they're loosening up the game style, the play style. There's more risk involved. They are actually below.
They just get above now, but Zate's onto 11 health, and it can also be worth sometimes even having one of the players kind of sacrifice themselves to go down, because only one player had to go down there out of Zate and Saf to, you know, get rid of the Storm Surge. Unfortunately, it is a straight wipe, but if you get finished to Storm Surge, you don't go down, you can't be revived, you get straight ended. They have to go for the reboot, but Zate and Saf do manage to survive this one, but just barely. I mean, there's not a lot this team's going to be able to do to get back in this one. They are going to be through into the heats, into the semi-finals, even though this is the only round 4 we've seen from them though. So I don't know how serious they were taking today. I don't know if they had a different strategy. Some people out there even, you know, trusting in Zate's intelligence so much so to think that he's been, you know, hiding a secret strategy or deliberately not playing to his full potential here, not wanting to show his full cards until he makes it to the heats and the finals. And I honestly hope that's true based on their performance today. The only round 4 of the qualifier we've seen them make, and not a fantastic performance, 53 points.
Yeah, no, a bit subpar for the likes of Saf. Zate and of course Stretch here. Not where they want to be, but that's okay. They still will have more opportunities in front of them. And again, we talked about them. We put them on a pedestal to possibly, at the very least, walk away with the Victory Royale or a high ground position. Look up and we'll see them on hype. But they haven't managed to maintain or pull through in those end game instances. It just has been a bit rough.
Commandment goes down, Jack goes down, and these are those teams that have the potential to really break apart the lobby and jump up at the top. They're doing big things. Commandment's team still in second place here. They have a potential to jump out and come out on first. That team, more than any other team, I believe in NA East or potentially the world, really doesn't lose once they get into that first place position. Luckily for Teo, Chimp, and Tabney, they went into the final game not in first, as I see Teo getting elimination in the feed as well as I talk about them. So really, again, you talked about it. Your community grinders, right, Monster? Really proving that the time spent on the game can help. As I say that though, Chimp falling to scoped, it might not be secure yet. I'd love to see them in first place though.
Yeah, but listen, 150 points coming into this. They've had nothing short of a phenomenal day. Yeah, literally 2 Victory Royales. Like we said, the first team to ever go back-to-back with it on these big stages. Take a look at this cheeky play right here. They're actually trying to bring this whole thing down.
What is this? This is a big breakout. No, they're realizing it's a little bit too ambitious. They get zone. If they broke this out, they could have maybe gone for a. They could have maybe gone for a big first rotating zone 90 fest to get up on hype, but unfortunately not breaking it out there. Too many builds. COD Genesis, Voil, and Pandush on the front side. I like this. All 3 together in the tub, back to back, and this is the scary part though. This is where the nerves start to kick in. You talked about a Monster, cold feet. You want to avoid it. They're 3 players that have been in positions like this before, but I don't know whether it's literally come down to a game where they need to secure like a top 3, otherwise they are not even making semi-finals. Those players are all very well and truly good enough to be grand finals, let alone semi-final players, and they get hype. They're on high ground. Ooh. I don't know how they've taken this, but they have taken high ground. This is exactly what we saw yesterday over on OC Monster. Literally, scarily the same. Like, this is eerily familiar. They went into game number 6 needing a win or a solid performance for a team that had to get top 10 of 3 top-tier players that reformed in the last week, and they did just that. They took the high ground. Jarlan, Zoram, and Squeaks managed to take out that win. Ken, Pandush, COD Genesis, and Voil do it. They're setting up every single way they need to, though. They're playing this high ground very, very well.
Listen, Shio and Reese are talking about mirror zones. We're talking about mirror end games, mirror days, mirror storylines now for the competitive players here. Will we see these newly formed trios qual their way all the way through? At this point, At this point in time, it might just be time to call it quits if you're not on high ground, because it looks like they will be able to firepower their way through. All they have to do is maintain sight lines on everyone. Don't let anyone steal away your golden opportunity. Half in, half out. Front side rotate, high ground take. This is so perfect. This is like the Cinderella story for the team. 83 points now, 8 eliminations, one step closer here.
And then the zone is pulling up the mountain. Everyone has to funnel up into them, but no, zone goes back. That makes things a little bit more difficult. They can still keep picking up these eliminations, but all these teams beneath them now get to go back through those builds. They get to stay a little bit safer, but it also means Voil, I'm so used to saying this, they've played together for so long. Voil's team needs to stay on the high ground. They have the floppers though, so they could potentially win the heal off if it comes down to it. We talked about how high ground doesn't normally get the eliminations, Monster, but they don't need them. A top 3 would 100% secure this. I think they just broke the mid to high 80s. They should be safe here, but a win would just be the icing on the cake, proving with that statement that, look, we only just made it, but we did it with a big win at the very end, as Slacks is doing big things down here in the mid ground. Acorn goes down as the swing. He gets 93 points. That team's going to be top 10 as well, but what can Slacks do to try and jump up even further?
And not only that, I still saw Noob Teo up as well in the low ground somewhere, so he might still be in the running here. That's their first place team right now, trying to close things out strong leading into the heats. Paper's still up as well with Nosh, making a statement that if they can win the drop, they can make these end games over and over again. Here's Slacksto coming on in, going for the shield exchange for the health trade. It's a pretty tough one, but it is going to effectively lead him out a little bit more HP wise. Less seconds to work with on the backside of the edge here though, so he does have to be very careful. Now coming in, top 5 here. Tabney finds Dusky, your previous game winners. High ground though, still the Cinderella team, still holding it out, trying to block everyone else out.
God Genesis is doing that. He's burying the opponents, as a lot of Fortnite players call it. He's suffocating, and he's placing all those builds on the mountain. They've done it. No one can get up unless you have a lot of white heals, a lot of materials, and a lot of bounces. You can't get around this one. You have to break your way up and through it. And here it is, a 3v3 situation. 2 teams alive, 6 players. God Genesis team jumping up into triple digits, above 100 points. They have easily qualified now, proving, like I said, that I put the pressure on them. They had the game they needed. It's Jamper, Paper, and Nosh, our first place team, originally on the low ground, doing big things, but there it is. 14 elimination victory.
Wow.
They just stuck to this one game plan. They were going with the flow, and they picked up 40 eliminations. That is absurd.
An average of 6.67. That is incredible. These guys played out of their mind, especially for move them up from 14th all the way into qualifying in that 5th. Remember, they needed to get a top 10 to qualify through the semifinals, so huge from them.
And there was just no way that those guys were going to be nervous. They played their game out, they dodged all those rockets, and they came out with the victory royale.
Oh, there's one rocket they didn't quite dodge, unfortunately. But same time, you know, we're moving down here.